He is currently working as an associate professor at Language Leaders Program from University of Massachusetts in Amherst. He got his bachelor's degree from Brown University, and he obtained his Master of Education at Harvard University, and finally he obtained his doctorate from the University of California, Berkeley. I personally might identify myself as a classroom teacher, researcher, and teacher educator for ELLs, plus activist fighting for social justice and good quality of education, and particularly narrowing down the educational achievement gap. And also he is a yoga practitioner, yoga man, on a regular basis. And his research interests include multimodality and multimodal media production and critical literacy and pedagogy and development of youth multiliteracy skills. Today, he is delivering a speech entitled 20 Years Developing Multiliteracies with Primary School Students. So without any further ado, please welcome today's plenary speaker, Dr. Ned Turner.
Thank you. I am so honored and I'm delighted to be here with all of you, and I'm so grateful to my former doctoral advisee, Technam Yoon, for inviting me, and for the whole conference committee for inviting me. So I know we actually have a truncated amount of time, so I'm going to really be precise in what I'm going to try and do here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get a survey of all of you and just get a sense of who's in the room. I'm going to share a little bit about my research, and then I'm going to save a nice chunk of time, I promise, for question and answer, since I've flown all the way from Hawaii, Honolulu, aloha, mahalo. All right, so first thing, is I want to get a little sense of who's in the room. So how many folks are English teachers? By show of hands. Okay, excellent. Put your hands down. How many of you are graduate students working on a master's or a doctorate degree? Excellent. Good. And then how many of you are professors? All right, excellent. And how many of you are other? What are the others?
All of the above.
All of the above. Lifelong learners. Good. All right. So I will try, the reason I asked for that, so I can try to touch on all of these different varieties, right? So as English teachers in the classroom, and as well as from graduate student perspective, researcher perspective, just thinking about some of these considerations. As you notice, my title here, 20 Years Developing Multiliteracies. I have been teaching really for the past 20 years, all over the world. I've taught 2 years in Japan, about an hour away, in Okayama-ken, and also Ghana, West Africa, and as well as in most of the metropolitan cities in the United States, in the New York area, the Boston area, Los Angeles area, and the Bay Area, in California. So what I'm going to do real quick is tell you the goals that I have for today. Dr. Kim, in her keynote address, what she already did was go over a lot of your achievements here in Korean primary school education. She listed them out very systematically, and you all are doing a lot of great things, and you should commend yourself. And go ahead, give yourself a round of applause on 20 years English education. But what they've brought me here to do is try to add on to that, right? What can we do a little bit better? What can we, something additional? What could be improved? And so I have 6 things I want to really share with you this morning, and hopefully you'll take away from this, okay? The first one that I hope you take away is some skills on, in the English language classroom, how to teach critical thinking, okay? And in these times, with the new administration coming in to the United States government, critical thinking is very important, and we need all of our students all over the world being able to think critically. Also, group work, collaboration. Students, when they graduate from school, they're just assumed that they will be able to collaborate. Through my research, I hopefully will show you ways to teach students how to collaborate better in the classroom and do group work. The third one is how to have students produce texts that are for an authentic audience. Instead of just doing papers that get filed in the cabinet and no one sees them, how to produce English in ways, in meaningful ways, where people actually hear it, see it, and it is taken up in the world. The fourth one is how do we create our English language students to become global citizens? How can we do that in the English classroom? And last 2 points are around, since our students are digital natives, how do we build on their own sort of information and communication technology literacies outside of school? And then finally, as English teachers yourself, I'm going to encourage you to develop your own confidence in your own daily English practice, okay? And perhaps that will be linked in with, as Tekna mentioned, the yoga and the mindfulness. Maybe that last point is about how to develop your own confidence as an English communicator, okay? All right, so those are my 6 goals, and I'll try to hit all of them. So this first slide here asks you to think about how are you using these technologies in your classroom. These students outside of your classroom are very familiar with them. The iPhones, the video game technology, laptop computers, magazines, and books. It's a rhetorical question, so you don't have to answer it. But think for a moment to yourself, how are you using these technologies in your English teaching? These are technologies students are using outside of the classroom all day, every day. But how are you building on those literacy practices students are engaged in outside of school? All right, and this is my big proclamation that I always say to teachers every time I get a chance to speak in front of groups, is that the days where students write papers that get filed in filing cabinets, kind of like a big box over there, are over, right? With the internet, with how much information is out in the world, it's our job as educators to teach them how to synthesize that information and create new knowledge, okay? And so that is what I'm arguing is our goal and our duty, is not to just write English tests and file them away, but how can they create information in English and share it with the world, all right? This is my challenge too. And we see that is happening in almost every form on things like the blogosphere, in Facebook. This is the idea of Web 2.0, where no longer are students and people just accepting information and receiving information, but rather they are generating content, user-generated content, and then putting it out into the world, okay? And so this is our responsibility as educators to teach students how to do this. And I think that was that's pretty much my major point I hope to drive home here. And I really recognize it in Dr. Kim's presentation. One thing I don't see happening is this type of production, okay? Production, multimodal media production. All right, so like I said, I'm basically going to just talk about my research study and talk about the implications for us as classroom teachers, English classroom teachers. This is a brief overview of the study that I conducted in Oakland, California, looking at middle school students in an after-school program. And what these students were doing they were producing hip-hop music videos, beats, and also songs. And what I wanted to know, I asked the question, what were those students learning in that process? And I did a one-year study in this middle school. And these are a little bit of the theories that I draw on. And by the way, in your program book, I have a listing. I wrote a short article, and I have a listing of all of my research publications. So you can find all of the theories that I'm drawing upon, and all of my publications are listed in the book. But the three big, broad areas of scholarship that I draw on for my research are social and cultural theories of literacy. These are scholars like James G. and Carol Lee. And this is the notion that literacy is not simply reading and writing, right? For so long we've been taught, literacy is reading, writing, and arithmetic. But many of us know people historically throughout time who have never known how to read or write, but were highly literate, who are highly literate, right? People who can tell you the names of every plant and exactly how it will help and cure your body. Maybe they can't actually read or write, but they can tell you every single thing about, nature and that sort of thing. So that is a form of literacy. So these scholars open up the definition of what is literacy to more broader social and cultural theories. Also, critical media literacy, and that is the piece that I will, again, press on, is the idea of production. So critical media literacy means to understand how to read and write media, but also to produce media. Actually, counter-hegemonic media. I know that's a big word, but media aimed at issues of social justice that challenge sort of the status quo. And then finally, this concept of critical race theory and storytelling. How many of you are familiar with the methodology of digital storytelling? How many people have ever heard of digital storytelling? No? A little bit? Yeah. Digital storytelling is what is kind of at the basis of what I'm going to be talking about here in this concept of multimodal media production. But digital storytelling is an excellent method to teach kids English. It's pretty simple and straightforward in terms of collecting pictures, writing a story to go with the pictures, and then putting those pictures into some type of software, whether it be PowerPoint, Windows Movie Maker, iMovie, and telling a story, a digital story. And putting an audio soundtrack to it as well. It's very fun for students and a really great way to get them actively involved in English language production and telling their own story. And so critical race theory talks about, for historically marginalized groups of people, being able to tell your story is very liberating. And so for our students, getting them to have the confidence to speak English, telling their own story in English, getting them to do that. And through pictures, the multimodal media is an excellent way to do it. All right. So here's this term you keep hearing me say, multimodal media production. I made it up, so don't worry, you've never heard it. That's what we like to do, right? As academics, make up words. Multimodal media production. The reason why I came up with this term was because I was interested in all of the forms of media people produce, right? So, for example, I should have in here, wikis, blogs, digital stories, public service announcements, documentary films, websites. All of these things I include in one word, one concept, multimodal media production. And it's important because today, meaning is made increasingly through all of these modalities, right? The written linguistic, the visual, the audio, and spatial. And interestingly enough, this little citation comes from Australia. And Australia and Canada are a bit ahead of the United States, and I'm not sure about here in Korea, but even on the standardized tests, students are asked to do some type of multimodal media analysis on standardized tests. So that is the direction things are headed, to teach media literacy and critical media literacy. All right? And this point here is about, in addition to just teaching kids drill and kill exercises, students should be taught how to liberate themselves, how to challenge injustice in their lives. And so this form of multimodal media production allows that to happen. All right. All right, so my study took place in the Bay Area of California, San Francisco, Oakland area, which is a very global city. As you know, many of you are familiar with San Francisco. But even though it has pockets of extreme wealth, as you know, Silicon Valley with Google and all of that sort of thing, and Napa with all the great wine, it also has extreme pockets of poverty. And the students I work with here in East Oakland, many of them represent that. Their parents come from very low income backgrounds. And yeah, actually the schools have children in them who are actually homeless, if you can believe that. In middle school, children as young as 12 years old in the United States, the richest country in the world, who are homeless. I mean, and so in what I'm going to show you in my students' work, my students actually take up that issue and challenge it and use the media that they produce to challenge those types of issues. Okay? And so like I mentioned, it's an urban middle school. It was fairly new when I was there. I was working in an after-school program, and this is a concept I would really encourage you to do. I don't know how many of these collaborations take place here in Korea, but a university community literacy technology intervention. So the university provided many undergraduate students. We had 14 undergraduate tutors coming in, 3 instructors and a coordinator. Some of them were graduate students from the university. And then the after-school program had about 57% African-American students, 40% Latino, and then about 3% Asian Pacific Islander. And three quarters of the students were actually below grade level in English and math. And so for the researchers, just to get a kind of a feel of the kind of my research methodology for this study, I was a participant observer, and I actually served as the site coordinator for the whole project, for the whole year. And what that meant was I helped set up the room and support the teachers in their own teaching. Okay? And actually, I'll make a point here for the researchers in the room about research and ethics with research, and my choice to be a participant observer. One of the things that I find in research at prestigious universities like this one and many of the universities you attend is, as researchers, we go into the field to get our data, and we are going to get it, and we are going to get our degrees, whether they be the bachelor degree, master's degree, PhD. But the question I want to pose for you as researchers is to think about, what are you giving, right? What are you giving? You're going to get your degree and your data, but when you are in the field doing research, what are you giving back? And so part of my methodology is an engaged, socially engaged researcher, is giving back to communities, in this case, who are in need, okay? And so that's the idea of bringing university resources to communities that need resources and your time and energy. All right, so in addition to my participant researcher role, I did individual and group interviews, field notes. This is a form of ethnography. It's a technique from anthropology, and video classroom interaction surveys, and I collected the students' multimodal media productions, their grades, and the state test scores. This is a quick slide of a summary of focal students. I'll only point just a quick